Welcome back.
Yeah, man, how you doing? You good?
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to the ETHOS. What up, Informed fam? We still in the mountains, you heard. Because we couldn't get to every panel, we still here in Davos. Today we will be checking out some of the panels defending the truth. Ha! We the only ones defending the truth. We gonna see what my boy El Loco is talking about, aka Presidente Milei, and some passionate words from the control ops. So without further ado, roll that first clip.
How do you go about building trust?
Well, I really want to echo a lot of what Meredith said there. I agree with it entirely. I think there's a very specific challenge for the legacy brands like the New York Times and like the Wall Street Journal. I mean, interestingly, when there's a big news event, a big world event, people still come to the legacy brands.
Yeah, ain't nobody under 40 going to legacy nothing, according to Pew Research.
Look it up.
Yeah, we get our news on the gram or other platforms that we use so we can see what's going on from the people on the ground. So get your metrics right.
A lot of trust. But I think you only have to go back. I think we have to maintain that trust, and we have to work at maintaining it in a way that we didn't have to do not so long ago. So if you go back really not that long ago, as I say, we owned the news. We were the gatekeepers.
Wow, we getting some honesty up here at Davos. That was kind of crazy for you to say out loud, sis. Not too long ago, y'all did own the news. You want to know when that stranglehold was released from owning the news? When that big C bomb came out, you heard? When that big C-19 bomb came out and y'all was sitting on TV every day, lying. That's when it stopped. That's when the headlock was released a little bit because people seen y'all in real time lying every day. Big, fat lies.
And we very much owned the facts as well. If it said it in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, then that was a fact. Nowadays...
That's right, we in the information age. We can take what y'all saying, compare it to what somebody else says, get the facts, and then discern for ourselves. See, now we can determine what's the truth for ourselves, instead of just having to depend on you guys, especially when y'all been lying about everything. Cue the song.
Why you always lying? Oh my God, stop lying.
People can go to all sorts of different sources for the news, and they're much more questioning about what we're saying. So it's no longer good enough for us just to say, this is what happened.
No, it's not good enough. It never was good enough. How about that? How about it's never been good enough? How about it was only acceptable because that's the only thing we had? Y'all had a monopoly on information. And guess what y'all gave us? Y'all gave us the internet. And y'all sent us to college. So now we know how to do research. We know how to find things. We're gonna Google this and that. That's where y'all messed up. You didn't recognize the first thing you did wrong was underestimate the people and their low quality content.
What happened, or this is the news. We have to explain, almost like explain our working. So readers expect to understand how we source stories. They want to know how we go about getting stories. We have to sort of lift the bonnet, as it were, and in a way that newspapers aren't used to doing, and explain to people what we're doing. We need to be much more transparent about how we go about collecting the news.
Transparent? You think you should tell us how you came to the information you got? You don't think that we should have a choice in the say of the matter? Because you're saying you have no choice, while saying that if you don't tell the truth, we're not gonna believe you. Duh.
The news, in order to keep that trust, because the trust is our most valuable asset.
Those are two contrary statements. The trust is your most valuable asset. Meanwhile, you're not investing in it. You're not doing any of the things that will allow us to trust y'all. And y'all having a discussion about how to develop trust in the World Economic Forum at Switzerland. You don't think that's
Find that suspicious?
And the minute we let go of that, then our business models, frankly, will fall apart. That also means we have to correct our mistakes. We have to be honest when we make mistakes. We have to not be afraid of that. And I think, as well, we need to have a much more open relationship with our readers. We have to be more responsive to what they want, what they expect of us, and we have to, just have more of a dialogue.
You think that you should have a relationship with your readers, or more of a dialogue when it has something to do with them and how it affects us? You don't think you should have a segment in the news where you say this is how it affects the average person? Out of here. The same people that just used to own the news, own the facts? No way.
Dialogue. It used to be very much de haut en bas with newspapers, and I think those days are over. And I think the feeling we get is that readers really enjoy that. They like it. They like us to open up and tell them what we're going on. I think the challenge for us is the people who say they trust us and want to understand why they should trust us tend to be the same people. We're preaching to the converted. The challenge is, how do we reach the people out there who don't read the Wall Street Journal, who don't read the New York Times, who don't listen to the BBC or whatever? How do we persuade them of the value of trusted news?
Yeah, it is strange how you try to manipulate people into the truth instead of just telling the truth and letting people decide for themselves. You have to be mindful of how people talk about this, where it's persuasive or I have to get you on my side, instead of telling people the truth and letting them weigh the good and bad for themselves. If you had our best interests in mind, that's how it would be. You don't have our best interests in mind, and that's why it is how it is now.
I feel like we don't talk enough about why that happened. I'm going to repeat something I think I said before, which is, at its best, news is experienced in a committed relationship where you go to one or a handful of providers that you trust are going to have a team who are going to bring you, information you can trust that is fact-based.
This lady said trust twice, and we all the way in Davos, Switzerland. Just because you keep saying trust does not mean we're going to trust you. Trust doesn't work like that. You can't just continue to push the words down our throat and we're going to say, we trust you. Nah, you messed up that paradigm with that good C-bomb. Cue the music.
Over the last decade, probably a little longer, the relationship was just intermediated between the reader or the listener or the watcher and that publisher who spent all the money gathering that information and creating journalism around it. And that was not good for the consumer's understanding of what they were, I'm going to say reading, but I mean watching and listening.
Y'all playing middleman and blurring reality with the truth. And your narrative wasn't good enough for its readers, us, and you know it wasn't good for us. How do y'all know that the narrative wasn't good for us and y'all still putting it out? That's why we at this panel right now. Yet y'all want to try to get this relationship back? When's it gonna stop? Nah, how about when's it gonna start? When's it gonna start where you actually care about the people that you're servicing on a simple level, where you prioritize the truth and getting an unbiased information out to where people can make an informed decision for themselves?
For what they were reading, when much of news is experienced by the public as a bunch of atomized stories traveling around the internet.
How about stop using words like atomized to describe distribution? How about stop using language to confuse people and use language to clarify and inform people, like the news should? How about you atomize this into smaller pieces so you can digest it?
Divorced from their context, divorced from what Emma was talking about, which are the signals to say this is news or this is it.
Better signals mean more control.
And these are the other 10 stories the Journal has produced around it or the Times has produced around it. That's just not good for the consumers or the reader, citizen's ability to take in the whole story. That's the first thing. Second thing, which you're pointing to, is what tech advancement, which also gave us so much, including much more audience for our work, it led to the platforms led to the proliferation of low quality content.
Low quality content. Independent journalism isn't low quality content. It just doesn't have the funding behind it. But the quality isn't low. Nobody will be watching it. People still like to be entertained and informed. This content is far from low quality.
To distinguish between independent fact-based journalism and all the other stuff, quite important, still plenty more work to do there. I think it's more than labeling. I mean, Google actually has been has made real progress on this over the years. It's how does search work? How are things indexed? We're entering a next chapter of the information ecosystem. How will quality content be pointed to? How will it be acknowledged? How will it be surfaced at great scale? And then I would just say, your opening question to me, we can't forget that all of this has been compounded by world leaders literally trying to sow mistrust.
Trump voice, fake news, fake news, fake news. She's talking about my guy Donnie. When he says fake news, it's fake news. When she says world leaders, that's who she's talking about.
I think it's something like some huge percentage of young people say, I get all my news on TikTok.
Do you know why young people go to TikTok to get their news? I can tell you. The people that's telling the news on TikTok, they have no agenda. They have no reason to give you anything other than the information right in front of you.
Huge percentage of people. And by the way, TikTok is awesome. I have a 12-year-old. I know how awesome it is. I think that a huge part of the answer is what is it that they like there? It's the multimedia format. It's everything about what you can do on TikTok. And so, and I suspect, Emma, you'll say something similar. I can only give you this through an anecdote. A day or two after the Hamas attack happened on October 7th. Roger Cohen, who is the Paris bureau chief of the New York Times and has written for us for decades and is like an expert on the Middle East, lands in Tel Aviv. And the first thing this sort of esteemed journalist who's been around forever, who's not so young himself, does when he gets there is he, makes a video of himself kind of coming into Tel Aviv and saying how still it is and how different it feels from the last time he's there, and the kind of the darkness of the moment and the palpable way he can feel it. So what do I mean by that? You've got the journalist putting himself at the center of a piece of our journalism, very different from what the Times and the Journal would typically do in a newspaper would do. That's one. Two, you've got a man who has been doing journalism forever, actually just taking a selfie video as he would do if he were making a TikTok.
Being a human being and talking about his experience as a human being instead of a New York Times employee or some prestigious journalist, like we're talking about him now. He's talking about how he felt when he landed in Tel Aviv in the thick of it, how the war is happening right now. That's why it was impactful, because the people can see it for themselves. You don't have to tell them.
Nameless institution, but these are human beings actually coming to you with the war.
Yeah, so I love that anecdote, and I think it's any suggestion that young people don't care about the news, the truth,
ridiculous.
Is so patronising.
Yeah.
They do,
Yeah.
but it's our job to make sure we're giving it to them in the form that they want to consume it.
Y'all got to get over this controlling the narrative. It's too many eyes now. It's too many people that got cameras. You can't control the narrative because everybody's going to tell their own version of the story. And if y'all's story doesn't align, guess who's the liar? Y'all the liar.
So your example's great. I mean, there's this wonderful girl on TikTok. I forget her name. She's 18 years old. She's got nails this long, hair out here. Every day or every so often, she gets up and she reads out articles from the Wall Street Journal that she loves. And she actually gets the print edition. This is what's so funny. And then she sort of translates it for a TikTok audience. Anyway, she's magnificent.
Influencers, listen up. I want to be clear. These people are watching you. She's talking about some girl on TikTok, acting like she don't know who she is. She know exactly who she is. Keep doing what you're doing. You heard? We going up against the machine. That's what you're witnessing right now. This is the independent going up against the major.
That's gold.
I want to hire her. I think we may already have reached out. Anyway, but the point is we have to respond to them. So perhaps they want their news in a different form. They certainly want it on a different platform. Perhaps they want news that's more constructive, news that offers them solutions rather than just endless problems. And I do also think there is we need to be doing...
It means using language in common terms for regular people that are consuming the news and how it will affect them. As simple as you could say it. So you don't need a college education or Ivy League education just to understand the news.
More to educate, the young about the value of trusted news. I was in Germany before I came here. And I was talking to some German journalists, and they were telling me that there's an election
On freedom in Argentina, Professor Alberto Venegas Ledge Jr., who says that libertarianism is the unrestricted respect for the life project of others, based on the principle of non-aggression, in defense of the right to life, liberty and property. Its fundamental institutions being private property, markets free from state intervention, free competition, the division of labor, and social cooperation, as part of which success is achieved only by serving others with goods of better quality or at a better price. In other words, capitalists...
Man, I thought we was all capitalists. Free enterprise, you dig?
Oh, shout out to my guy. I like this guy, El Loco. They said they used to call him El Loco when he was growing up. He might have actually been a poor Spade with a name like that. I got a bunch of Spanish friends and they all loco. I'm from the Bronx.
Successful business people are social benefactors who, far from appropriating the wealth of others, contribute to the general well-being. Ultimately, a successful entrepreneur is a hero.
I knew I liked this guy, man. This guy was all right. This Milei guy, I'm going to have to go to Argentina and get me a chopped cheese. He's telling you that successful business people are the heroes. That's a fact. Okay, now I'm not talking about greedy billionaires at the top. I'm talking about the people that create jobs.
And this is the model that we are advocating for the Argentina of the future, a model based on the fundamental principles of libertarianism, the defense of life, of freedom, and of property.
Whoa, what, Milei? You sound like an old American. You sound like an old American speech. You sound like you quoting the Constitution. I'm not sure. Argentina's looking real nice.
Now, if free enterprise capitalism and economic freedom have proven to be extraordinary instruments to end poverty in the world, and we are now at the best time in the history of humanity, it is worth asking why I say that the West is in danger. And
I can tell you all how the West is in danger because there are socialist ideas being masked as democratic ideas, and nobody knows the difference.
in those of our countries that should defend the values of the free market, private property,
Private property refers to the ownership of property by private parties, essentially anyone or anything other than the government.
and the other institutions of libertarianism, sectors of the political and economic establishment, some due to mistakes in their theoretical framework and others due to a greed for power, are undermining the foundations of libertarianism, opening up the doors to socialism and potentially condemning us to poverty, misery and stagnation. It should never be forgotten that socialism is always and everywhere an impoverishing phenomenon that has failed in all countries where it's been tried out. It's been a failure economically, socially, culturally, and it also murdered over 100 million human beings. It's not just that we need to come to grips with those who, even after the fall of the Berlin Wall and the overwhelming empirical evidence, continue to advocate for impoverishing socialism. But there's also our own leaders, thinkers, and academics who, relying on a misguided theoretical framework, undermine the fundamentals of the system that has given us the greatest expansion of wealth and prosperity in our history. The theoretical framework to which I refer is that of neoclassical economic theory.
Neoclassical economics is a broad theory that focuses on supply and demand as the driving forces behind the production, pricing, and consumption of goods and services. It emerged in around 1900 to compete with the earlier theories of classical economics,
which designs a set of instruments that, unwillingly or without meaning to, ends up serving the intervention by the state, socialism and social degradation. The problem with neoclassicals is that the model they fell in love with does not map reality, so they put down their mistakes to supposed market failures rather than reviewing the premises of the model. On the pretext of a supposed market failure, regulations are introduced which only create distortions in the price system, prevent economic calculus, and therefore also prevent saving, investment and growth. This problem lies mainly in the fact that not even supposedly libertarian economists understand what the market is, because if they did understand, it would quickly be seen that it's impossible for there to be something along the lines of market failures.
Yo, what's this? My man is dead challenging the narratives with these guys talking about market failure. Market failures only happen in controlled markets, and this guy is the president of Argentina, and he's telling you market failures happen because they're controlled.
A mere graph describing a curve of supply and demand. The market is a mechanism for social cooperation where you voluntarily exchange ownership rights. Therefore, based on this definition, talking about a market failure is an oxymoron. There are no market failures. If transactions are voluntary, the only context in which there can be a market failure is if there is coercion. And the only one that is able to coerce generally is the state, which holds a monopoly on violence.
Yo, he's wildin'. They got a monopoly on violence. Eloquently put.
Consequently, if someone considers that there is a market failure, I would suggest that they check to see if the state intervention involved. And if they find that that's not the case, I would suggest that they check again, because obviously there's a mistake. Market failures do not exist. An example of these so-called market failures described by the neoclassicals are the concentrated structures of the economy. However, without increasing returns to scale functions, whose counterpart are the concentrated structures of the economy, we couldn't possibly explain economic growth since the year 1800 until today. Isn't this interesting? I would like to leave a message for all business people here and for those who are not here in person but are following from around the world. Do not be intimidated either by the political class or by parasites who live off the state. Do not surrender to a political class that only wants to stay in power and retain its privileges. You are social benefactors. You're heroes.
Yo, Mile, man, you got my vote. I'm about to go to Argentina, you know what I'm talking about? Because you chatting, my boy, and I respect it. I feel you. You called the working man and the entrepreneur hero. They've been trying to villainize the working man and the entrepreneur. more. Big ups to Mile, big ups. Big ups is a Jamaican colloquial term. It means respect, respect. Boom, boom.
Creators of the most extraordinary period of prosperity we've ever seen. Let no one tell you that your ambition is immoral. If you make money, it's because you offer a better product at a better price, thereby contributing to general well-being. Do not surrender to the advance of the state. The state is not the solution. The state is the problem itself. You are the true protagonists of
The state is the problem? Yo, where are we? They let him in Davos? Bro, they let us in Davos. I ain't even gonna lie to you, so you know what I'm saying? We outside waiting for you, heard, Javi?
this story. And rest assured that as from today, Argentina is your staunch, unconditional ally. Thank you very much, and long live freedom. Damn it.
He put the damn it in there at the end because that damn it went a long way in his last speech, you heard? And that dollar, we seen that dollar up there. The dollar's not crashing, you heard? You feel me? This is not financial advice. Argentina already bought the debt. They already got it, you heard?
One thing that Davos, you might say, and the people come here stand up for, is liberal democracy.
It's laughable that you would, or anyone would describe Davos as protecting liberal democracy. I'll be candid here because I think I've been invited here to be candid. Elites tell us that open borders.
I mean, I like your speech, family. Don't try to separate yourself from the elite, though. Look like that's a $10 suit. Stop playing with us.
Illegal immigration are okay. The average person tells us in the United States that both rob them of the American way of life. Elites also tell us that public safety isn't a problem in big American cities. Just travel to New York or Washington or Dallas, Texas. The average person will tell you that the lack of public safety damages not just the American way of life, but their life. Elites tell us that we have this existential crisis with so-called climate change. The solutions, the average person know, cost more human lives, especially in Europe during the time that you need heating, than do the problem and the problems themselves. The fourth, China. The number one adversary, not just to the United States, but to free people on planet Earth. Not only do we at Davos not say that, we give the Chinese Communist Party a platform. And fifth, as we sit here, another supranational organization, the World Health Organization, is discussing foisting gender ideology upon the global South. These are practices that are under review, if not being rejected, by countries in Northern Europe. The new president, especially if it's President Trump, will, as you like to say, trust the science. He will understand the basic biological reality of manhood and womanhood. And do you know why? Not because of retribution, not because he's a dictator, but because he has the power of the American people behind him.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna give these guys credit. The control ops is here. They have control opposition at their disposal because this guy seemingly all for the people like he's down, but bro, we can't believe you. You need more people. Because you up in the mountains, you feel me? How you supposed to be representing the people and you all the way up in the mountains? Yeah, that was a good little speech. You moved me, but not off my square.
And if I may, I will be candid and say that the agenda that every single member of the administration needs to have is to compile a list of everything that's ever been proposed at the World Economic Forum and object all of them.
And on that note, I do agree. Everything that's on the docket at the World Economic Forum, we should oppose. Why? Because who elected them in the first place to give us those things on the docket?
If you think about democracy and you think about trust, it maps to three really clear chapters. You have local trust and local systems of democracy.
Local trust down to the people, that is the people on the ground floor, the everyday citizen, the regular person is the local trust.
Then you have institutional trust.
Institutional trust is a little higher. That's businesses, that's corporations, that's the big institutes that run things, that's in charge.
You have what I call distributed trust. And this is what technology inherently wants to do.
Distributed trust is the new technology, that's crypto, that has the ability to distribute that trust because it has all the trust elements inherently built into it.
It wants to take trust that was very top-down and linear and centralized and distribute it.
And it will distribute it. Hey, if you know anything about crypto, they have a technology called distributed ledger technology. That's actually the word that's in it. Yeah.
We've seen this happen with media and information. We've seen this happen.
I've seen it happen with the media information. And that's why I'm coming to check what's going on. Because clearly, y'all don't have our best interests in mind. And that's why it costs $50,000 just to get here. And that's with an invite. And 12 just to pop out. Pop out is another New York slang. It means to go somewhere.
With value flows. Now, when those two things get disrupted, it's going to disrupt democracy.
Why would people having independent news and having their own opinions disrupt democracy? I think it would disrupt democracy because they want your mind right now and they don't got it.
Now, the thing that frightens me is that this creates a vacuum of chaos and what we might call untrustworthy individuals.
Why would these individuals be untrustworthy to y'all? Because they don't have the same agenda as you? They don't have the same intention as you? So yeah, they're not trustworthy because if you're not with me, you're against me.
They understand these dynamics. They understand how to take all these fragments and this chaos and create some kind of absolute truth, create some kind of false certainty that is often mistaken for power. And that's where trust flows.
That's a doobie. Doobie is a colloquial term. It's used to describe wrapping one's hair with pins to secure it. That means it's a wrap. If you like what I'm putting down, pass it around, comment below, let us know what you think that's going on in these internet streets. Stay tuned for more insights, more critical thinking, facts, and questions. Remember, the last free space is your mind. They can't control what you think. Check out next week for another episode of Knowledge. Listen, creatives, these people are watching us. They dead ass watching us because we're their competition. If your video got 10,000 views on it, they know who you are. Somebody seen you. Somebody sent them the video because that's how information is being shared today. We're not sharing media no more in the same way how we used to where I'm gonna go get a newspaper or I'm gonna read the magazine. Nah, I'm gonna go find out what happened from somebody from the horse's mouth. So keep doing what you're doing. We are making a dent. Trust me, I would not be here. I would not be here if we was not making, if I want to get in action. That's why you think I'm here because I want to join in the action of what's going on. And we are actually making a impact. So keep doing what you're doing, even if it's foolishness. Even if it's foolishness, keep doing what you're doing. Why? Because you taking the focus and attention. You've heard these people talking about attention, right? They're talking about, the creatives, how we have people's attention. Remember when you was growing up, the TV had your attention? How many people watch TV now? We don't watch TV, we watch our phones. We watch the Black Mirror. We watch somebody else's life. That's what we're doing right now. So guess what? Keep making content. We're gonna try to figure out a way where we get paid for it, you heard?